In the quiet, forgotten corners of history, some lives almost seem too extraordinary to be view lives that whisper to us through shadows and fading photographs. Among them is the story of Prince Randian, known to the world as the living torso. Before we step into his extraordinary life, pause for a moment. Imagine the dimly lit tents of a traveling circus, the faint smell of sawdust and smoke, the whispers of curious crowds. Picture the flickering gaslights illuminating faces staring in awe, or perhaps even leave a comment somewhere, noting the place you are listening from and the hour of your day or night. It is remarkable to think how the story of a man born without arms or legs, who defied every expectation, can travel across time and space, reaching someone's ear in a moment they could never have imagined. Prince Randian was born in 1871 in the wild, untamed lands of British Guiana into a family of Indian descent. He entered this world without arms or legs, a fragile vessel against the vastness of life. Yet within him burned a spirit so fierce, so unyielding, that it would challenge everything the world thought possible. Imagine a child, unable to hold a brush, to lift a cup, to touch the world as others do, yet refusing to surrender to despair. Every day was a battlefield, each simple task a mountain to climb. And yet, with remarkable patience, as Prince Randian grew, the world he inhabited seemed both vast and impossibly cruel. Every corner, every door, every path was a reminder of what he could not do. While other children ran freely through fields, climbed trees, and played games with laughter spilling into the air, Randian navigated a world built for hands and feet. Yet within him a fire burned, a quiet, unyielding determination that refused to surrender to pity or despair. His early days were filled with trial and error, moments of frustration and tiny victories, learning to feed himself, to hold a brush, to move and interact with his surroundings, was a painstaking process. Each accomplishment was earned through hours of meticulous effort, a testament to a mind unwilling to be shackled by the limitations of flesh. He learned to manipulate objects with his lips, mastering movements that seemed impossible, as if his very soul guided his body in defiance of its missing limbs. Imagine the solitude he must have felt, the stares of strangers, the whispers of those who could not understand him, the endless questioning of why the world had dealt him such a cruel hand. Yet in that solitude something remarkable happened. He cultivated patience, intelligence, and self-reliance. He turned what the world called weakness into an art form, a demonstration of human will that would astound generations to come. Even in his youth, Randian exhibited a rare spark of ingenuity. He painted intricate images, wrote with painstaking care, and practiced the dexterity that would one day make him famous. Each stroke, each movement, was an act of defiance against the idea that his body defined his worth. Friends and family who watched him marveled, not only at his skills, but at the spirit that refused to bow, the courage that radiated from someone who had so little, yet achieved so much. It was during these early years, surrounded by a world that often misunderstood him, that Prince Randian's character was forged. Every struggle, every small triumph, became a stepping stone, preparing him for a life that would take him far beyond the confines of his home, beyond the whispers of local curiosity, and into the dazzling, complicated world of circus fame. But before the applause of the crowd could echo in his ears, he had to endure the silent battles of youth, the kind that shape a legend. And in those quiet, grueling moments, the man who would be known as the living torso began to emerge, unyielding, inventive, and unforgettable. The quiet struggles of Prince Randian's youth could have been the entire story, yet destiny had far grander plans for him. Word of the remarkable young man who defied the limitations of his body with intelligence and skill, began to travel beyond his small village. His talents, once private and painstakingly cultivated, were noticed by those who understood the power of human wonder. Among them was P.T. Barnum, the legendary showman of America, a man who saw in Randian not just a curiosity, but a genius whose abilities could astonish the world. Arriving in America, Randian stepped into a new life, a world of dazzling lights, thunderous applause, and the hum of audiences whose fascination bordered on awe. The circus, with all its spectacle and strange wonders, became the stage for a man who had known only struggle and solitude. Here, every demonstration of skill, rolling and lighting a cigarette with his lips, painting delicate images, performing daily tasks with uncanny dexterity, was a revelation. Spectators gasped, some in disbelief, some in admiration, but all were drawn into the gravity of his presence. Yet the circus was more than applause. It was a battlefield of perception. Audiences saw a man without limbs and wondered at first how he could survive. But as Randian moved with precision, as he created and performed, the awe transformed into profound respect. Each motion told a story of patience, honed through hardship, a silent declaration that the human spirit can triumph over even the most daunting obstacles. Behind the curtains, Randian's life was not without its challenges. The constant travel, the glaring eyes of strangers, and the scrutiny of the world could have crushed a lesser spirit. But he remained undaunted. In every performance he revealed not just skill, but artistry born of resilience, a life shaped by struggle, yet illuminated by mastery. Each cigarette he rolled, each painting he produced, became a testament to what the human will can achieve when nurtured with patience and courage. It was during this period that Randian's fame began to cement itself, moving beyond the circus tents and into the annals of cultural memory. People traveled miles to witness the living torso, not merely to gawk at the unusual, but to witness the extraordinary, the triumph of ingenuity over limitation. And in the echoing applause of the crowd, amidst the gasps of astonishment, Prince Randian found his place in a world that had once seemed impossible to navigate, proving that greatness often rises from the quiet, overlooked corners of life. As the years passed, Prince Randian's life became a bridge between the ordinary and the extraordinary. The circus, with its roaring crowds and dazzling lights, had introduced the world to his brilliance, but it was a film that would immortalize him for generations. In 1932, the legendary and controversial movie, Freaks captured his image and his skill in a single unforgettable scene. There, audiences around the globe witnessed him roll and light a cigarette, using only his lips, a simple act transformed into a symbol of determination, artistry, and the human spirit's unyielding power. The scene was more than a performance. It was history frozen in motion. People watched in awe, some with curiosity, others with reverence, as Randian moved with grace and precision, defying the expectations that society had imposed upon him since birth. In that cinematic moment, the world glimpsed the genius of a man who had spent decades mastering the impossible, a man who turned limitation into strength, struggle into elegance. Yet fame is often fleeting, and admiration can be shallow. Outside the lights of the stage and the lens of the camera, the world largely forgot him. Crowds cheered, film reels rolled, yet history's memory is selective. How many remember the living torso today, whose very presence challenged what it meant to be human? His life was a paradox, a figure celebrated and yet slowly drifting into obscurity, a reminder that even the extraordinary can be forgotten if the world does not hold tightly to memory. Despite this, the impact of Prince Randian's life cannot be measured solely in fame. He inspired countless others with disabilities, proving that ingenuity, courage, and patience can overcome barriers that seem insurmountable. Artists, performers, and historians who stumbled upon his story marveled, not just at his abilities, but at the dignity with which he carried himself through a world that was often judged by appearance rather than character. In every photograph, every film frame, and every whispered anecdote, the essence of Prince Randian endures, a testament to the triumph of spirit over circumstance, a reminder that the human soul can illuminate even the darkest corners of limitation. He lived not as a spectacle, but as a teacher of resilience, showing that strength is not measured by the body, but by the courage to exist fully, unapologetically, in the face of impossibility. Prince Randian's life, like a candle flickering against the dark, reminds us of the fragility and resilience of human existence. Though his body was limited in ways few could imagine, his spirit knew no bounds. Every brushstroke he painted, every cigarette he rolled, every movement executed with impossible precision was an affirmation of life's potential to rise above circumstance. He transformed what others saw as weakness into a masterpiece of courage, proving that the human will can illuminate even the shadows of limitation. And yet history has a cruel way of forgetting its own wonders. Many who witnessed his brilliance have long since passed, and the crowds that once marveled have dispersed into memory. Today, Prince Randian exists largely in fragments: a photograph, a fleeting scene from a film, the whispers of sideshow folklore. To some, he is merely a curiosity. To those who look closer, he is a legend, a man whose very existence challenges the assumptions of what it means to be capable, to be extraordinary, and to be human. His story carries lessons that transcend time and place. It teaches patience in the face of adversity, ingenuity in moments of constraint, and dignity when confronted with misunderstanding. It whispers to anyone who feels unseen or underestimated that greatness is not reserved for the unscarred, the ordinary, or the expected. Randian's life tells us that heroism often wears the quietest faces, and the most extraordinary talents can exist in forms the world might initially overlook. Though he has passed from this world, his legacy endures. In films, photographs, and the retelling of his story, the living torso reminds us that history is shaped not just by the remembered but also by the lost, the overlooked, and the remarkable who slip through the cracks of memory. His existence, once met with astonishment, now stands as an invitation to remember, to honor, and to reflect on the vast capacities of the human spirit. Prince Randian lived a life that could have been measured in limitations, yet he measured it in triumph. He walked a path few could imagine, leaving behind a story that continues to inspire awe, wonder, and reflection. And in remembering him, we do more than preserve a moment in history. We celebrate the unyielding courage of those the world almost forgot. And we remind ourselves that even in the most unlikely forms, greatness endures.